Hello and welcome. I am Raghav from automationstepbystep.com, and today we are going to learn how to create and run a GET API request in Karate framework. This is going to be very easy and I will go step by step, and we are going to learn how to run a simple GET API request in our project. We will also see how to run a GET API request with a background with paths and parameters, and we will also see some simple assertions. This is going to be very easy and very interesting, and that is my promise. So let's get started and let us see what is a get method in an API request. Now get is a HTTP method like post, put, delete, etc. The get method in HTTP is specifically used to read or access data or information. So whenever you just want to get data or read a data, you will use a get method. For example, if you want to get a list of users, or you want to get the details of a particular employee, or you want to get or read any data, we will use the get method. And in the get API request, we do not need the request body, which is often referred to as payload. Now do not worry, I will tell you what exactly is a payload or a request body in the post API section. For now, just remember that in a get request we do not have a request body because we just are reading a resource. We are not doing any creation or alteration of the resource. So with that, let us see a demo. And here step number one is we will create a feature file under our src test java folder. So I will go to my Eclipse, and here we had created this project called Karate in the earlier sessions. So I will go here, and here under the src test java folder we had created a package called tests, and inside the tests package we started creating our first feature file. Now it is completely on you if you want to create some more sub folders or packages inside the test folder where you want to categorize your requests or features based on your application. You are completely free to do that, but in my case I will just create a new feature file under the tests package, which is under my src test java folder. I will do a right click and go to new and select file, and here I can give any name. I'll just say get.feature to keep it very simple and say finish. And I'm getting some sample data, and this is because I'm using the Cucumber plugin in Eclipse. I will remove everything and I will start a new feature. So I will first say feature and colon and give the title. I will say get API demo, and if you want to increase or decrease the font, you can press Ctrl and plus on your keyboard or Ctrl minus, and in Mac you can use Command plus or Command minus. So this is the feature title, and then I will say scenario. I will say scenario colon, and I will give some name of the scenario. I will say sample get request, or let me just say this is the first scenario. I will say get demo 1. And now I will use the statements that is given when then and create my API request. So here step number 1 we have done. Step number 2 is we have to add a feature and scenario description, which we have done. Step number 3 is now we will add the steps to run a sample get API request. Now here you can use your own APIs, or if you want to use any sample API you can use that. In my case I am going to use some APIs from this reqres.in website. So if I go to my browser and go to reqres.in, here you can see they have some sample APIs that we can use for testing, and here we have all these different methods: get, post, put, delete, patch, etc. I'm going to use the very first API, that is a get API, to list users, and I will click here, and you can see this is the request endpoint. This is the response. This is the response we will get, and this is the response status, which is 200. 200 is for a successful response in case of get. And to get the complete URL, you can click on this URL or endpoint, open in a new browser or a new tab, and this is the complete URL that you can copy from here. And here I will say given URL, and in quotes I will paste this URL, and then I will say when method is get. You can also use caps here. I will say method get, and then I will say, then I want to check status is 200, and if you want you can also print your response. I will say and print response. Let's save this and see what happens. I will do a right click and say run as Cucumber feature. I'm getting this option because I have added the Cucumber plugin in Eclipse. You can also use a test runner as we have seen in the earlier session, but that will run all the feature files or all the test files unless you specify. So to run a single feature, I will just do a right click and say run as Cucumber feature, and this has started running. And now I will see the result. So I will go to my target folder, and you can see we have got a karate reports folder here. You will also see some new folders getting created, and that is because whenever you run a new request, the old requests or the old report get copied into a folder with a timestamp, and then in the karate reports folder we get the new report. So here I will go to karate summary.html, do a right click and open with system editor. This will open with the default browser on this system, which is Chrome, and you can see we have got one feature pass, and this is the timestamp. This is the feature, the title, pass fail count, and the time taken. I will go to the feature and see the steps, and you can see everything is running fine. If I click on when method get, I can see all the request headers here, all the details here, and you will see all the response as well here. And then because I have explicitly printed the response, I can go here and check my response, and you can see this is the JSON response body that we have got. And yes, everything is fine, and you can also see the time taken by every step here. So this is running fine, and we have done step number 3, and we have seen the very first example. So this was the example that we have seen, a very simple get API demo where we are saying given URL, when method get, then status, and we are also printing the response. Now we can also print the response status, the response time, the response headers, and the response cookies. Let us try this. I will say here and print response status and print response time and print response headers and print, I think it is just headers, yeah, response headers and response cookies. This is fine, response cookies. So here we are printing all this. Save and run again. You can also go to this play button, and if you go to this drop down of the play button, you will see this is the last API, or this is the last feature that we ran, and if you click here it will run the same request again, and this is running. And now we can go and check the result, and I will just go here and check, and yes, this is running fine. And here we have also got the response status, which is 200, and then response time, which is 4 to 5 milliseconds, and then the response headers are here. You can see all these response headers, application JSON, connection keep alive, all this is here. We also have an e tag and all these things. And then let us see the response cookies. So they do not have any cookies here. So this is how you can also print all these data in your API. Let us now move to get API example 2, and here we are going to use a background. Now in a background, in very simple words, background is something that runs before every scenario in a feature file. So if you have some common parameters or you want to do something which is common to all the scenarios, you can put that into a background. For example, if you have multiple scenarios in your feature that have the same URL and the same headers, you can use a background. We can also use background to read a file and store some data in a variable that we will see later. For now, let me create a background here. I will say in the same request, just before the scenario, I will say background and colon and enter, and then you can give a star and I will say URL, and let us just say This is the common part of the URL. This is the common part which will be there in every scenario or API request. I will put this common part here in the background, and then let us say again I will say star, and I want to give a header application JSON. So I will say header accept, and I will say it is application JSON. So I will say equals application JSON, and that's it. Now in the scenario, what you can do is, here I can say given path, because the URL is anyways going to be taken from the background, so I can directly use the path which will get appended with the URL. So I can say here, let me copy this and create a new scenario so that we have everything in the result. Let me also give some comment here. This is simple get request, and this one is get with background, and of course you can do a right click and say pretty format to correct the formatting. So you can see everything is now fine, and here I can say scenario is get demo 2, and I will say given path, and I will just use the path after the base URL which I have given in the background. So after this I can just use this, and then I will say when method get, and the rest of the things will remain as it is. And let me just remove all this. We know we can do this, so let me keep it simple here along with the background. This is how we can do. So I will run again and check. I can directly run from here. If you just click on this play button, it will run whatever is the last played request. So I can directly click on this run button, and let us see what happens this time. I will again go to the report and check. Oh, there was a failure. Let me see what was the failure. And here the failure, there is some failure. Let me check the console here. So here, okay, looks like because we have added a background, so again here as well we will have to, either we have to remove this, or let me try removing. Or let me just say here, let me try this and check. I will run and check. So I will run this. Okay, the issue is with the header. This is not the correct way. Let me check what is the mistake I did. It is header accept application JSON. Let me see, I did some mistake. Header, I will give spaces here. So this is header accept, and then within quotes, single quotes, I am saying application JSON. And let me now see what happens. I'll run again and check, and I will refresh this. And yes, I think that was the issue. So see, I am not editing out all these sections where I am making a mistake, so that you can also see, and you can see how to find the issues and troubleshoot. So this is now fine, and then you can see this is our get demo with background, and here you can see this was our background, and this is now running fine, and it is also printing our response, and everything is running fine here. So this is a get API request with background. Let us move and see another interesting get API example, and here you can see we can also give the paths and parameters separately. Now if you see here, let me bring back the original URL here in the first API request, which is this. Now if you see here, this is our base URL until here, and then this is the rest of the path, and after question mark these are the parameters. So we can give these parameters separately, and here I can say, let me say this is our get with path and parameters, and here I can say I already have the background here. I will say given path and then and param. So we already have this. I'll just copy this second API request, paste it here, and I will say this is get demo 3, and path we already have, and this should come as the parameters and not in the path. Although it is working fine here, but generally it should be given like that, and parameter, and I will say page equals 2. So this is how I can give a parameter page equals 2. Let me give the spaces as well. And that's it. Let me try to run and check. I will run this. So please do hands-on along with me, so you will also get to see if you are making any mistakes. I will go and check the result, and yes, we have now got. So you can see we have get demo 1, get demo 2 and get demo 3 here, and in the get demo 3 we are using the parameters separately, and still we are getting everything is fine. We are getting the response as well. So this is fine, this is done. Let us now move to another example of get, where we can also check the assertions. So let me just copy this. I'll just copy this and paste it again here, and let me also do a right click and say pretty format, and yes, this is done. And here I will say get with assertions. Now here I'm just going to show you some very basic assertions. I will have a separate session on assertions where I will go deep into assertions. So here we are already checking the response status here, then status is 200, and then we can also check some particular value is not null. For example, here you can see I'm checking the first name which is under the first index of data is not null. Now we have to get a JSON path in case of JSON response, or XPath in case of XML response. How do you get that? Let us see. You can go to any of the tools. For example, there is a website called jsonpathfinder.com. There is also a Chrome plugin with the same name. If you go to the Chrome web store, and here if you search for JSON Pathfinder, you will also get a plugin that you can add into your Chrome, and you can use that to find the JSON path. You can see this is here. In my case, it is already added. There's a question mark as an icon of this plugin, but for now let me go to the website jsonpathfinder.com, and here you can first copy your response. You can just copy from here, or you can just take from your actual API. So this is our response. So this is our JSON response. You have to start from the curly bracket until the end curly bracket, copy and paste it here. You can beautify it, and then you can also see here we have got the tree structure, and if you click on any of the node, it will give you the path here. For example, if you want to get the first name here, you can see this is the path, and this you can give here like this. I can say and match response. First data is not null, so I can just copy this, and in the API I will say, in the assertion I will say here and match response dot and the path that we have copied, which is data 0 dot first name, and here I can check if it is equal to something, or just I will check not equals null. So I will say not equals null. So that means we are expecting something here. So this is a very simple assertion. Then you can also check the length of a particular array. I can say you can use assert as well, response dot data, and you can say dot length equals 6. You can see here, if I look at the data node, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 items in this array. So I am checking it is 6. And then we can also check a particular value. For example, let us say I want to check this particular ID is 10. So I will click here, get the path, JSON path, and then I will say, and I can use match here. I can say response or dollar. I will say response dot data 3 dot id equals 10, and let me try to run this and check if the existing assertions are working fine. I will go to the report and refresh it, and looks like this is working fine. I will go to demo 4 and you can see all this is working fine. Everything is successful. I can also use a dollar here, which is the same thing as the response. So this will also work. And then I can similarly get any other field or any other parameters, use a JSON response and then check it in my assertions. For example, this is the first name, or let me say this is the last name, and I will copy the path here and I will say and match response dot this equals to equals Edwards. So that's it. This is how I can use the assertions. I will run this and go and check the response, and yes, everything is working fine. So this is how we can use some simple assertions, and as I said that I will have a separate session on assertions. So for now you can just use these very basic assertions, and with that we have done step number 3, and we have also done step number 4, that is we have executed all our requests and verified. And I hope now you know all these operations. With a simple get API we can use backgrounds, path, parameters, assertions, and I hope this was very easy and very interesting. You can do some more hands-on, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you for watching and never stop learning.